So this video is going to be all about algebraically finding inverses of functions. So remember, to find the inverse of a function, you're going to do this in two steps. Step one, switch x and y. And then step two, solve for y. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Problem number one, we've got y here, we've got x here. So our step one, flip those two, switch their places. So x equals negative 4y minus 16. That's step one. Step two, I want to now solve for y. So think about what you do to solve for x and get rid of the stuff that's around y. Right now we've got a negative 16 and a negative 4. Now this minus 16 is what's going to go first, then the minus 4, which is being multiplied. So I'm going to add 16. So x plus 16. Those are not like, so please don't combine them. And then to get rid of this negative 4 attached to y, I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 4 on both sides. So y is equal to x plus 16 divided by negative 4, and y is now completely isolated, so that's my final answer. Okay, so that's problem number one. I'm going to go ahead and slide over to number two. Now, you might look at this and say, well, there is no y term. Remember, f of x is basically y, and we've got the x sitting right there. So I'm going to flip-flop those, but instead of using f of x, I am going to just use the variable y. So x equals y plus 1 cubed minus 5. All right. Now, if you're looking at this going, I'm just not sure what needs to get, what we have to get rid of first. If you can find y, look at everything on the same side as y and follow the order of operation. So you would have to do y plus 1. So off to the side, I'm going to do a little plus 1. Then you'd have to take that to the third power. So power of 3. Then once you've done those two things, you would have to subtract 5. So minus 5. You're going to start to undo these with the bottom of the list and work your way to the top. So how would you get rid of a minus 5? Well, you would add 5 to both sides. So that will cancel. I'm going to have x plus 5 is equal to y plus 1 cubed. That part's now done. Actually, I'm just going to put a little check mark there. Next thing I have on my list is the power of 3. Well, the inverse operation to a power of 3 is going to be the cube root. So I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So on the left side, I've got the cube root of x plus 5. On the right side, the cube root and the power of 3 cancel each other out. That's kind of the point of them. And so now the power of 3 is done. The last thing that I have here is a plus 1 attached to y. Well, how do I get rid of plus 1? I'm going to subtract 1. Now, the one thing you want to be careful of with this, so y equals, now this cube root is x plus 5, then separately I have the minus 1. So make sure the cube root ends, and then the minus 1 is its own piece. So this is the final answer for number 2. Now, do you have to write this list off to the side? Absolutely not. If you do this and it helps you, then keep doing it, okay? I'm going to move on to number 3 here. All right, find x and y and switch them. Here's y, here's x. Let's go ahead and reverse those. So x equals 4 times the square root of 2y minus 8 plus 7. There is a lot of stuff going on in this problem, okay? So if we start with y, right, here is y. Let's start listing what we have to do to y in order. So first things we'd have to do is multiply times 2. So I'm going to do a little times 2. Then I would need to subtract 8. Okay, so that's the 2y minus 8. Now this whole thing is under a square root. So square root. Then we've got times by 4. So times 4. And the last thing is to add 7. So I'm going to start at the bottom of this list and work my way to the top. So how do I get rid of a plus 7? I'm going to subtract 7. So x minus 7 equals, now the rest of this problem I have not touched, and that's okay. So plus 7 is done. How do I get rid of a times 4? Well, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So x minus 7 over 4 equals the square root of 2y minus 8. So times by 4 is done. To undo a square root, I'm going to, now it's a root, so I need a power, and the opposite power to a square root is a square. Now, on the left side here, x minus 7 over 4 squared, do not multiply that out. I don't need you to. I don't want you to. Don't do it. Okay, so on the right side, we've got square and square root that will eliminate each other. So 2y minus 8. I think we're getting closer. Slowly, the stuff on the right side is disappearing. We've got minus 8, so I want to add 8 to both sides. Now be careful because this whole mess is in a square that I told you not to multiply out, and I don't want you to. But what I also don't want you to do is accidentally add that 8 into the square when it's not supposed to be. Okay? So minus 8, we got rid of that with a plus 8. And last but not least, we have times by 2, right? It's 2y. So to get rid of that, we're going to divide both sides by 2. So I'm going to rewrite this. Y is equal to x minus, whoops, hold on. Let me write the right thing here. So x minus 7 over 4 squared plus 8, all of that divided by 2. Yes, that is a nasty little mess, and it's okay. All right, I am totally fine with that answer. I don't need you to simplify it, reduce it, anything. What I'm going to be looking for is that you understand to switch x and y, and that you understand how to undo the things that are attached to y in the correct order. All right. So again, do not square this out. I don't need you to try to add this with 8. Don't divide, don't do any of that stuff. Just write it down, but keep track of it so that you know what's happening there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to problem number 4 here. We kind of saw this one before. H of x is really y, and we've got x sitting right there. So let's switch them. X is equal to the 5th root of negative 5y plus 7. So if you want to write the list, if you don't need it, you don't have to write it. Okay, there's no requirement to put this list off to the side. It's just to help you with the problem. And if it doesn't help, then you don't need to do it. But if we look for y here, what's attached to y? Well, we are multiplying or times by negative 5. We're adding 7, and then we have the 5th root. Okay, so, whoops, I'm trying to grab something. I was trying to grab this. So we have y times negative 5, so negative 5y plus 7. There's my plus 7. And then this whole expression, we're taking the 5th root of it. So start at the bottom of the list and start working your way up to the top. So to get rid of a 5th root, you need a 5th power. What you do to the left, do to the right. So this is going to be x to the 5th. So power and index cancel each other out. So negative 5y plus 7, 5th root's done. How do you get rid of a plus 7? You're going to subtract 7. So x to the 5th minus 7 is equal to negative 5y, and plus 7 is done. Last but not least, how do you get rid of a times by negative 5? You are going to divide by negative 5. And what you do on the right side, you're going to do on the left side. So this whole expression of x to the 5th minus 7 is being divided by negative 5. I don't need you to simplify that at all or reduce it. Don't do anything to it. Just let it be what it is. And there is your inverse equation. So problem number 4 is done. Let's go ahead and slide on over to number 5 here. So this one's pretty straightforward. We've got y and x. So first things first, switch them. X is equal to -4 minus 1/2 y. So what are we doing to y? We are multiplying, so times by -1/2. And we are, this is going to be weird, but we're subtracting 4, right? Because this 4 is negative. So how do you get rid of -4? Well, you're going to add 4. So x plus 4, that is not the same thing as 4x. Don't do it. It's a bad thing to do. Don't do it. And we've got multiplying by -1/2. So this is one place where I am going to do something a little bit different. Because this is a fraction, to get rid of a fraction, you can actually multiply by its reciprocal. Remember, reciprocal is just a big word that means flip the fraction over. So I'm going to take this side and multiply it by -2. That would be the reciprocal to -1/2. I'm going to take this side and multiply it times -2. So I'm going to have -2 times x plus 4 equals y, because -2 times -1/2 would completely divide itself out to 1, and so we would just have 1y left over. No, you do not need to distribute the -2. I wouldn't do it. I'm not asking you to, so don't do extra work, okay? And when your teacher tells you not to do extra work, go ahead and follow those directions. All right, number 6. We've got y, we've got x. We're going to flip them. X is equal to -2y minus 6. Now this one I'm going to do without listing it, without doing the list. If you want to write the list off to the side, that's a good thing. All right, you don't have to though, so I'm going to show you you don't have to do it here. I'm just going to recognize that I'm going to start peeling away the layers of things attached to y. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So x plus 6 equals -2y. And then to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by -2. So y equals x plus 6 over -2. Let it be what it is. I am quite happy with that answer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do number 7. Actually, I'll probably do the whole sheet just to get it all done. So we've got f of x, which is really y. There's my x right there. So let's go ahead and swap those two. So x is equal to -2y over 5. Now you can do this in one step to solve for y. You can also do it in 2 steps, depends on what you see. If you see this as y times -2 and then divided by 5, undo it in 2 steps. If you see this as -2/5 as a fraction, you can use that concept that we just talked about with the reciprocal, which is what I'm going to actually do. And I am going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Remember, just big word that means flip the fraction over. So -5 over 2. So this would be -5x over 2 equals the negative and negative will multiply to a positive. This 2 will divide out that 2. That 5 will divide out that 5. So all that's left is y. Now again, you could have done it in 2 steps. You could have multiplied by 5 to get rid of this division and then divided by -2, which would get you the same answer. Just so you know. Different pathways, same answer. It's all good. All right, number 8. Find y right there, find x. Okay, great. Switch them, swap them. X is equal to -2 plus y minus 1 cubed. I'm going to do the list for this one just because there's a few things going on. So we've got -1. We've got a power of 3, and then we're subtracting 2. So start at the bottom of the list and work your way to the top. So we're going to add 2. So x plus 2 is equal to y minus 1 cubed. So that's the -2 gone. Power of 3, well, that means I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So cube root and the power are gone. So I would have the cube root of x plus 2 equals y minus 1. So power is taken care of. Last thing here, to get rid of a minus 1, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. But be careful with the root. Because the x plus 2 is under the root, but this plus 1 is not, it's just put the plus 1 after the root. Don't try and incorporate it inside the radical. Okay? All right, last problem is number 9 here. Let's see, we've got our y value is really g of x. Our x is sitting right there. Switch them. So x is equal to 2 times y plus 2 squared. Lots of 2's in this problem, so be careful. So we've got a plus 2. So that would get me the y plus 2. We're going to do a power of 2. And all these lists are just based off of order of operations. What would you have to do next? So once you know what y is, you'd add 2. So y plus 2. Once you know this expression, you'd have to do the power of 2. So that's why I wrote that out. Once I know this whole thing, I'm going to multiply by 2. So times by 2. All right, so let's start at the bottom of the list and work to the top. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So x over 2 equals y plus 2 squared. Multiply by 2 is done. To undo a power of 2, I'm going to go ahead and do the square root. Now, you could write the index number of 2 here. I'm going to be lazy and not do it. It's assumed when you write a square root that there is a power of an index of 2 there. So square root and power of 2 are gone. So you get y plus 2. Power is taken care of. Last thing is to get rid of this plus 2. I'm going to subtract 2. Now again, we have something under a radical, x plus 2 or x over 2, and then we have minus 2, which is not under the radical. So don't try and combine those. And there's my y. All right, so this has been a lot of information on finding inverses algebraically. If you have questions or concerns, please ask and get the help that you need so you